Hello and welcome to Cook UK. My name's David and today I'm going to show you how to cook a seafood paella. We're going to be cooking our seafood paella outside on the barbecue using a paella pan, which is here. But if you don't have a barbecue and or a paella pan, simply cook your paella on top of the hob using whatever large frying pan you have. Now the original paella, known as Paella Valenciana, not surprisingly came from the Valencia region of Spain. And that's the predecessor of all other Spanish paellas. But over the last 60 years, the paella has broadened itself out in Spain into not only the original paella, but two additional ones. The one we're going to cook today, which is seafood paella, and the other one which is mixed paella, which is simply seafood and meat mixed together. One thing that has to be remembered though, whichever paella you're cooking, the king of the dish is the rice. The things you add merely go to flavour the rice. So let's go through our ingredients. The first is Spanish extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to use 2 tablespoonfuls of that. Then we have a large onion, 1 large garlic clove, and we're going to peel those and finely chop them. Then we have the most expensive spice in the world, which is saffron, and we're going to have a large pinch of that. And we're going to break it up so that the bits disperse evenly throughout the paella. Then we've got paprika. This is sweet paprika, not hot paprika. Normally it will just be labelled paprika if it's sweet paprika. It's also known in Spain as pimienton, and we're going to use a full teaspoonful of that, because that gives a lot of flavour and it also adds some colour to the rice. We've got 500 grams of very ripe tomatoes. We've got beefsteak tomatoes here, but you can use any tomatoes you like. And what we're going to do with these is, as long as they're ripe though, they must be ripe tomatoes, what we're going to do with these is just nip them there and there with a sharp knife, put them in boiling water for 30 seconds, then plunge them in cold water, and then you'll find that the skin will come off as easy as pie. The star of the dish is paella rice. We've got 310 grams for this. It must be paella rice, definitely not long grain rice, that simply won't do. Risotto rice is definitely not as good for a paella as paella rice, but it's the second best alternative. This paella rice, is a medium grained or short grained rice, and what it does is it's able to absorb a lot of water with the central bit of the rice grain, the kernel, actually remaining quite crunchy. So you get a good texture. It also stays separate within the rice dish, which is unlike risotto. With the risotto you'll get a creamy mixed up rice sort of mixture. Here your rice should stay separate, and that's one of the benefits of having paella rice. We've got fish stock, and we're going to use 900 millilitres of fish stock, and we're going to use 2 fish stock cubes in that. And we've got a 25 gram pack of flat leaf parsley, which we're going to finely chop, and that's going to get mixed into the paella to give it some colour. The final ingredients are the fish, and you can add almost any fish, sea fish anyway, to a paella. What we've chosen to add is king prawns, and we've got 200 grams of uncooked, prepared king prawns which we're going to add. They're actually frozen, and they're going to go on for about 6 minutes before the end of the cooking time. And the other thing we've got is roughly 300 grams of monkfish fillet. We asked our fishmonger to fillet it for us because he was selling what's known as monkfish tail, which is the whole of the monkfish without the head. So we asked him to fillet it, and he did it in about 20 seconds, far quicker than we're ever going to be able to do it. So that's our 2 fish. Feel free to add more fish, oysters, whatever you want. You can add, instead of the monkfish, any white firm fish will do. So that's our ingredients. What we're going to do now is go and start our barbecue, and we'll prepare all these ingredients, and then we'll take the next step of the video outside with the barbecue. Okay, so we've done our preparation, and we've got the 2 tablespoonfuls of olive oil on the paella pan, and we're just going to add the onions now and stir those in. Oops. So in go the onions. And we're just going to cook these for a few minutes because we don't want them to go brown. We just want them to start softening. Now, as I said when we were doing the preparation, we're doing this on a barbecue, but there's nothing at all to stop you doing this inside the house on a hob with a pan. The benefit of a barbecue is that it spreads out the heat underneath the pan, and so when we add the rice, whoops, that's the barbecue going down, it heats the rice and cooks the rice much more evenly than you'll get inside when you put a large pan like this on a small hob. So, we'll come back to you in a minute or two when the onions are softened, and we'll add some more ingredients. So now we're going to add a few more ingredients, and I've got the saffron here, which I'm trying to break up as much as I can. So putting that in. And then we're adding the garlic. Finally, we'll add a good teaspoonful of paprika. Actually, let me get that top undone. There we are. Now the saffron will add flavour to the paella. But contrary to what many people think, it won't add much colour at all. In fact, far more colour will come from the sweet paprika than will come from the saffron. In Spain, many restaurants, in fact, use yellow food colouring to get that delicious yellow colour from the rice, because it's simply impossible to get that colour from the saffron. The other alternative to food colouring is turmeric. You can add turmeric. The problem with adding turmeric is, although it will definitely colour the rice a lovely colour, it will also add flavour, and it's not a flavour you particularly want in a paella. What you can do, however, is if you've got a very old pack of turmeric, you can use that. It's well out of date, because the flavour will have gone, but the colouring ability will still remain. So now we're going to add our chopped tomatoes. And we're going to simmer that, well, as much as we can, for about 8 minutes. One of the advantages of cooking on a hob is that you can regulate the heat far better than you can on a barbecue. But this will do just fine. Now this needs to be moved around the pan quite frequently. That'll mix all the ingredients together, but it will also make sure that the saffron is evenly spread amongst the tomato and onion mix. Now it's a good idea when using a paella dish to turn it around frequently, because some parts may get hotter than the other, and the same goes for when you're on the hob. It's especially important when you're cooking the rice, because you want the rice to cook evenly. So we'll let this simmer for about 8 minutes, and then we'll get back to you and we'll add a few more ingredients. Okay, so our tomatoes have been added and our spices, and it's been simmering for about 10 minutes, I think. So now we're going to add the rice, and then we're just going to make sure the rice is fully coated in that tomato and spice mix there. So we'll just do this for 30 seconds. Whoops, gone down again. I must set a to-do note of the new barbecue. So, that's our mixture there. Now what we're going to do is add the stock. So we've got half of it here with the stock cube in. Some more to top it up to the correct amount of fluid. And that looks about right there. We'll just give that a quick stir around. And make sure the rice is evenly spread out on the base of the pan. And this is whether you're doing it inside on a hob or outside on a barbecue in a paella dish. Because really from now on, we're not going to touch that rice at the bottom. We're not going to stir it, we're just going to let it absorb that liquid. And that will take about 15 to 20 minutes. And at that point there should still be just a little liquid on the top, but not very much. And that's the point at which we know we have to add the monkfish. So we'll get back to you after 15 minutes or so, and we'll show you adding the next set of ingredients. So our paella has absorbed most of the rice at the moment. As you can see when I do that, there's just a little bit of liquid on the top. And that's exactly how we want it at this stage. Because what we're going to do is add the monkfish and the prawns. We're going to put the monkfish on first. The prawns we're using are frozen, by the way. So they will take longer, about 5 minutes to cook, compared to pre-cooked ones, which will take only a minute to heat through. So you need to add the prawns depending on what type of prawns you've got. The monkfish itself, like this, will take about 6 minutes to cook. And we spread those out evenly. Now we're going to add our prawns. And you can add
more or less prawns, it's entirely up to you. This dish will serve 3 or 4 people, and we're adding in 6 king prawns. So we'll bring those to the surface just before we serve it out, because they look reasonably attractive. So we'll leave that cooking for about another 4 to 5 minutes, by which stage all of the water will have been absorbed and our fish will be cooked. We did actually leave one thing out when we added those prawns and monkfish a minute ago. I did season with salt and pepper. So at the same point you add the fish, season with salt and pepper according to taste. So there you have it, a delicious prawn and monkfish seafood paella. So you can serve in the middle of the table and let everyone tuck in.